They say no good deed goes unpunished. I learned that the morning I gifted my fiancée a brand new iPhone. Amber had been eyeing the midnight blue model with a camera bump big enough to land a drone on. I'm a veterinarian, not a tech influencer, but I wanted her birthday to begin with fireworks, so I woke at 4, taped a bow to the box, and slid it under her pillow. She squealed, tackled me, and declared I was the best man on earth. She didn't know how wrong she was. I kissed her goodbye at dawn and drove to Cedar Ridge Animal Hospital for the 6 o'clock surgery block. A boxer convinced tennis balls were tapas. Between scrubbing in and reviewing charts, I decided to finish activating her phone. I entered Amber's Apple ID, hit restore from iCloud, and watched a progress bar inch across the glass. Downloading 132 videos. Amber rarely records anything but recipe reels. Why a triple-digit archive? When the first thumbnail appeared, my pulse stalled. It was my living room couch, captured from a high angle as if lens were hiding on the bookshelf. Curiosity steamrolled caution. I tapped. The video opened on Mark, my best friend since we traded baseball cards in 3rd grade, sprawled across my sofa like he owned it. Moments later, Amber walked in wearing my college hoodie and carrying 2 craft beers. They clinked bottles, laughed at a joke the mic didn't catch, and she melted into his lap, his hand sliding under the hoodie with practiced ease. My stomach flash froze. The timestamp read 10:14 a.m., 2 Thursdays ago, the exact hour I was elbow-deep in a Great Dane's abdomen retrieving a swallowed sock. More thumbnails flooded the screen. The kitchen island I built, the balcony herb garden we nurtured, the bedroom where we planned our future, each clip starring Amber and Mark. Every angle was steady. A phone wedged among cookbooks, a webcam taped behind DVDs, another hidden in the smoke detector. She hadn't just cheated, she directed a multi-camera shoot. Betrayal arrived squared. Her intimacy with Mark and her espionage against me. My hands trembled so violently the break room clock wavered, yet years of surgery steadied them long enough to power the phone down. I stitched the boxer's incision with robotic calm, but my thoughts ricocheted. I could confront Amber tonight, blow everything apart in a hurricane of accusations. I could call Mark and invite him to test his dentistry against my knuckles. Yet another voice, the one trained to diagnose before cutting, whispered that outrage was a blunt instrument. What I needed was clarity, exposure, a scalpel-sharp reveal no one could spin. By the time I peeled off my gloves, a plan had begun to crystallize, bright and cold as surgical steel. The plan matured in the humdrum hours that followed. Ear mite checks, arthritis consults, a diabetic terrier who hated needles. Smiling at anxious owners while dosing insulin let me test drive composure. Every time I murmured a reassurance, I imagined peeling back a veil of lies instead of a bandage. By closing time, my course of action was precise. No yelling, no broken dishes, just a single, irrefutable demonstration spectacular enough to make denial impossible. Logistics came first. We already had a pre-wedding reception booked at a boutique winery, but I phoned our planner, Rachel. She still owed me after I'd removed a grape cluster from her beagle's stomach, so when I suggested hosting the gathering at our place next Saturday, she agreed before I could finish the sentence. Backyard fairy lights and a rented projector, she said, would feel authentically vintage. That word tasted perfect. That night, Amber apologized for being distracted. Work stress, she claimed, and snuggled against me while we rewatched The Office. I kept my face neutral, my arm draped around her shoulders, and the phone with the incriminating backups locked in my pocket. When she drifted to sleep, I opened my laptop and began cataloging each video by timestamp, noting which overlapped with surgery schedules. The parallels were grotesque. Canine hernia repair for me, champagne and couch for them. Wednesday, Mark dropped by to watch the Knicks. I handed him a craft IPA and swallowed bile as he settled into the same couch he'd corrupted. Instead of confrontation, I asked whether he'd record a testimonial for our reception montage. Speak from the heart, I urged. He flashed that fraternity grin and delivered 2 minutes of syrup about brotherhood and everlasting love. I exported the clip and imagined how it would play seconds before footage of his hands inside my fiancé's hoodie. Each night after Amber fell asleep, Final Cut Pro became my scalpel. Childhood photos, first date bloopers, cheesy vacation selfies, all assembled into a Hallmark overture. I stitched Mark's glowing tribute directly before the hidden cam clips, color-corrected the grain so faces were unmistakable, and balanced the audio so every breath and whispered endearment landed like a gavel. The resulting file, saved under the innocuous name lovejourneyfinal.mp4, made my skin crawl and my pulse steady in equal measure. Friday afternoon, Amber practiced our first dance steps in the living room, ironically, the very room that had served as her clandestine set. I counted beats and smiled while a new lens, now hidden in the smoke detector, captured insurance footage of her laughter. By sunset, the house smelled of mesquite from the borrowed smoker, fairy lights draped overhead, and mason jars of sangria chilled in galvanized tubs. RSVP counts ticked past 50. My parents, her parents, Mark's entire intramural softball team. I rehearsed my toast in my head, wondering whether honesty would taste like victory or vinegar. Soon enough, I'd know. Saturday glowed with California optimism. Cloudless sky, citrus breeze, neighbors leaning over fences to peek at the backyard constellation of lights. Guests filtered through the gate clutching mason jar cocktails and small talk smiles. Mark back-slapped me like a proud brother. Amber, radiant in a key lime sundress, floated from group to group, reminding everyone we were just 7 weeks from the big day. I synced my phone to the projector, set lovejourneyfinal.mp4 to autoplay after 3 minutes, and slipped the device into my pocket. My pulse felt calm, metronomic, as though it belonged to someone braver. We served pulled pork sliders, vegan skewers, and a charcuterie board shaped like a paw print, Rachel's idea of thematic genius. As dusk painted the sky lavender, she tapped her champagne flute. Everyone, Travis put together something special. Polite applause scattered like startled birds. I cleared my throat and surprised myself with a steady voice. Just a little highlight reel of our journey, I said, then dimmed the lanterns. The screen blossomed with childhood photos, awkward haircuts, silky overlays of the Goo Goo Dolls. Guests cooed on cue. Amber squeezed my hand. Mark Wolf whistled at our senior prom shot. 90 seconds in, the picture faded to black, then brightened to a new angle. My living room, Mark on the couch. At first the crowd assumed it was another goofy outtake, but when Amber walked in and perched on his lap, confusion rippled. Their kiss landed like a car crash in surround sound. Someone dropped a glass. It shattered against the pavers. I paused the video on a frame where their lips met, faces flush with unmistakable familiarity. Stepping into the projector beam, I let the image halo around me. For anyone wondering, I said, that's my couch. Tuesday, 2 weeks ago, 10:14 in the morning, while I was amputating a mastiff's necrotic tail across town. Silence thickened, elastic and painful. Amber's mother gasped. Mark's beer hovered mid-air. Amber lurched toward the projector. I raised a palm. Truth deserves the spotlight you gave it, I told her. I lifted my Prosecco. A toast, I announced, to honesty, even when it arrives via iCloud. I drank. A few guests mirrored the motion. Most stared at their feet, suddenly fascinated by pebbles. Amber burst into tears and ran inside, heels clattering like a metronome stuck on panic. Mark stammered apologies that evaporated in the night air. One by one, friends drifted away, some hugging me, others avoiding eye contact, as if betrayal were contagious. By midnight, only the fairy lights remained, blinking over abandoned chairs and half-empty cups. I carried the projector indoors and found the iPhone, still her birthday gift, on the coffee table, its screen dark. I performed a factory reset, erasing every secret packed into its silicon. Then I crawled onto the couch, the same couch, and let exhaustion sandbag me. Tomorrow I would cancel vendors, return deposits, and maybe rename the Wi-Fi network, Honesty via iCloud, for a laugh. But in that moment, I simply listened to the refrigerator hum and felt, for the first time in weeks, the comfort of a room with nothing left to hide.